Hi there. This is Janet Gershensiegel, and I'm the Lonely Writer. This is serious social media help for the independent author. And today I am talking with I'm talking to the social media person for mysterious, elusive author Zanzibar 7 Schwarzenegger. So welcome.
Good morning.
Hi. So tell us a bit about yourself or about Zanzibar. I mean, how do you want to do that? Who do you want to talk about?
I'm here for Zanzibar, so I'll
Mhm.
explain. I'm his social reality person because Zanzibar is a figment. He's a partially realized character from the Figment series, and he's the author of three books in two series at the moment.
Hmm.
And since he is on the run from the conductor, so he doesn't have to
Oh
go back to
no.
his book, I do most of his interacting with people. Uh,
Okay. And so kind of where does Zanzibar really sort of come from? I mean, I know he's from a book, but even more deep down, where does he arise from? Would you say?
um, the NaNoWriMo group on Facebook actually is where he started. And there was a discussion going on about how strange you could make your pseudonyms. And Eric came up with the idea that if you made it strange enough, that people would want to buy the book just based on the name. And Marla Lion Chaser Delpina said, well, you should use Zanzibar. That's a nice, strong name.
Definitely.
And I threw in, well, you should put in Schwarzenegger because Arnold Schwarzenegger, I mean, that's a nice, strong last name. And then Eric said, let's put in the 7 because then nobody will take it seriously. So the idea is just that, the name is something to be laughed at, not taken seriously. And every book that Zanzibar writes is supposed to have at least a strain of humor in it, even if there is a serious aspect.
One thing about pseudonyms, I think that this is true for folks who are independent writers kind of rising up through the ranks, and it may even very well be true for folks who are more well known. Uh, I think the one thing about a pseudonym is that sometimes they can kind of say and do and write what you and I cannot. Do you feel that Zanzibar kind of has a freedom?
Oh, absolutely. When Zanzibar does do his own Twitter account,
Uh-huh.
and Zanzibar says pretty much whatever he wants, which is kind of fun to watch. Whether it's flirting with a woman who's been married for 25 years and not caring because he's just flirting anyway, or saying what he thinks about political candidates or the Oxford comma, excuse me.
Yeah, well, we all fight to the death about the Oxford comma. Now, Beta Beware. Let's talk a little bit about that. What's that all about, and how did that come about?
Beta Beware is the second book in the Figment series. Um, it's basically taking what started in Venery Verbum, which is basically the story of writing a book,
Okay.
and it's going to the next step, which is getting beta readers for your book. But the problem is that it's a Figments book, and so the beta reader DJ gets sucked into the book, and it's sort of based very, very loosely on Alice Through the Looking Glass. So it goes backwards from the first book.
Okay.
And it has a little bit of that same journey, and it has chess incorporated into it.
So that's why there's sort of this stylized, rounded chessboard on the cover.
Correct.
Now, it also sounds just a little bit almost like Tron, in that where someone is kind of sucked into a video game. So instead, they're being pulled into a book. So the Annals of Bobian, is that the third in the series, or is that a different story?
That's a different series. It's going to be the Chronicles of Bobian, and the
Sorry.
first, the first book, the Annals of Bobian, is the story of a 12-year-old boy whose basic goal is just he wants ice cream. And it seems like the universe is conspiring against him. And he calls himself the Bobian. He's got a very strong sense of who he is as a person. But he's also, I write him as very high-functioning autistic. So the way that he socially functions is a little bit different.
Okay.
And the whole book is told from third person, but very limited point of view. It's his point of view.
And I can understand why his POV would be kind of limited, because one thing that for higher functioning autistic folks seems to be the case is that they don't always understand how to relate to people.
Right.
You know, that what you and I might say, or we might say something sarcastically, they might take it utterly seriously. And you know, so they're sort of missing the point. It's not that they're not intelligent. It's that things are literal. So the joke, it's not just the joke goes over their head, but the joke could turn out to be offensive.
He's actually pretty laid back for an autistic person, and that he doesn't get offended so much by things, but he just totally does not understand a lot of things that happen. And so he sees them in his own way, and he'll translate whatever's happening into his own viewpoint, such as it's taking forever for summer to get here, and he wants summer. Well, he's decided aliens are changing back the calendar every night.
Hey, you know, that works for me. And the quest for ice cream, I highly approve that, because that's I'm pretty much on that ice cream quest every evening. So let's shift gears and talk a little bit about Imagination. So what is it about, and kind of what do you do with it?
Imagination is my baby. It's hopefully a way to get readers who are into indie books and indie writers together without the readers having to sort through all of the, for lack of a better word, the junk out there. There is an ocean of books, and unfortunately, that ocean is full of a lot of garbage people have just tossed off the side of the pier.
Definitely.
And what Imagination would like to do is to go through and at least establish a basic professional level for the books on storytelling. You know, does the story actually make sense? Is it a story, instead of is it a bunch of little bits thrown into a book and called a story?
Okay.
Was it edited? You know, do the characters remain solid? Does it slow down too much in spots? Does it stop completely? Does it go too fast all the way through? Was it proofread? It's very distracting to go into a great book and get 16 typos in the first page.
Oh my God, yes.
And then finally, the design. Is the cover at least a decent design, not I went into Cover Creator and I slapped everything in and, ooh, look at my cover. It doesn't have to be an award-winning one, but at least does it look professional and somewhat describe the book that it's in? And is the formatting inside at least a basic level of your page numbers don't start on the title page, and your titles are at the top, not somewhere in the center, and
Yeah.
things like that.
You know, it's as indies, both of us, you know, we may not, you know, you want to just write, you want to just get it out on the page, but you're absolutely correct that the format, the cover, there's an experience to reading a book that goes beyond just the words on the page. It's also, we're so familiar with that the page number is in a corner. It's not always at the bottom, but it's in a corner, and that you know, and that the paragraphs are either indented or they've got a space, and you know, all these other things that you know, we expect them. These are rules that kind of need to be followed. So and I know that you've got Ronnie Verdi on your radar. He's in your how would you put it? Because I had interviewed him.
We are on the author side of things. We're hoping to provide author tools. So we do several things 2 times a year. In April and in October, we do an online event where an author who has published a book between the time of the last event and this one can promote their book as long as we feel that it meets our standards. The very first event, we let pretty much anyone in because we were doing it last minute. But from this point forward, we're setting forth, you've got to meet the basic standards of the proofreading, the editing, the formatting, and the cover design. And that's one of our three things basically at the moment. The second thing is that we're doing what's called the Whole Writer Challenge, which is a chance for writers to come on and learn a little bit about how to balance your life as a writer. Writers and creatives tend to be, a lot of us, extreme.
Yes.
We will go overboard and not sleep for a month so that we can put a novel together, and then we get out of shape and our family life suffers, and we maybe neglect other things. We stop reading. All of those things should be part of our life as a person, not just as a writer. But the challenge is to help writers learn how to balance the 8 different dimensions of health. So there's that going on, which will be coming up in September.
Okay.
And then the other thing that we do is we take authors to conferences or conventions.
Yes.
We've had our first convention this year. It was a small one. We just wanted to test the waters first. Had several people seek us out because we were carrying Ronnie, our birdie. And again, we will carry any author that we've already approved if they are willing. And Ronnie, actually, we carry. I go ahead and purchase his books to carry because one of these days he's going to be the next big thing if he's not there already.
Yes, I agree. He's very driven, but he's also, one of the things I noticed about Ronnie is he sets a goal, he makes it, but then he doesn't sit on his laurels. He says, okay, now the next one, that he's always seeing what's, the horizon, but he's also thinking about what's beyond it.
Right. And he does it very well, and he also does very well the connecting with his audience. His audience loves him.
Yes. Well, a lot of what I've noticed as I've talked to people, and and not just authors, but of many of the interviews that I've conducted here of sort of more peripheral folks like a cover artist and a intellectual property attorney, is that networking seems to be really, really key. That as writers, one of the things we also love to do is we want to sit in our little garret and just write. But you're absolutely right. You have to get out there, and it's not just for your own health and for your own mental health. It's also because as we go out there, we'll overhear conversations, or we'll see things, and something will trip a wire in our heads, and we'll say, that's a story, or that's a character. So my question to you is, what would you say? What's your best advice?
My very best advice is never throw away an idea.
Okay.
And second with that is never stop writing.
Fantastic. Have you got a work in progress right now?
I'm working on a book called The Wicked Witch of Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's a young adult, since I parody a lot, it's a parody on Macbeth.
Okay.
But it's trying to take Macbeth into a magic high school and keep it funny, but still have the trauma of, a female pushing a man to be more than what he maybe wants to be, and he does things to please her that result in a lot of problems, but it's also based around teen bullying.
I take it that they don't murder King Duncan.
No, Duncan doesn't make it into this book, and so far there's no death.
All right. Spoiler alert, or at least a Macbeth spoiler alert, if nothing else. So, where can we find you online?
Online, Zanzibar is found at his website, first and foremost, which is Zanzibar7.com.
Okay.
He can be found on Facebook at Zanzibar, I believe it's Zanzibar7 Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, Twitter, he is Zanzibar7 Writer.
Okay.
And then his email is also Zanzibar7Schwarzenegger@gmail.com.
Okay, and I will, of course, put all of this into the notes so that the links are clickable. So I would like to thank Zanzibar 7 Schwarzenegger's kind and gracious representative here on Earth in the real world. And once again, my name is Janet Gershon-Siegel, and I'm the Lonely Writer, because an independent writer never has to be alone. Thank you so much for listening.